What the fact?
Marvel's first hero appearing in Marvel number 1 in 1939 was the Human Torch. Not Johnny Storm, but an android that could control fire. The comic book sold more than 800,000 copies. Captain America wasn't born into the world until 1941, selling over 1 million copies. Hulk was originally gray when he was introduced, but became green to compensate for poor color separations used to print comics in the 60s. Michael Jackson tried to buy Marvel Comics in the early 90s so that he could play Spider-Man in his own produced movie. Melissa Tomei and Robert Downey Jr. knew each other from the 1994 film Only You and dated for a while. Her position in Homecoming was in fact a recommendation by Downey despite breaking up on good terms some time ago. Stan Lee put a hyphen in Spider-Man's name so it would look different from Superman in print. Marvel Comics and DC Comics have co-owned the trademark for the phrase superhero since 1981. Wolverine was originally intended to be a genetically mutated Wolverine rather than a human mutant. Stan Lee himself vetoed the idea. Marvel had a rule in the mid-70s that Wolverine did not have arm hair while in costume, but could have arm hair when he was in regular clothing. Due to the production schedule of Captain America: Civil War, Spider-Man had to be written into the film many months before he was available for Marvel Studios to legally use. Had Sony denied access to the character, co-director Anthony Russo admitted that they never had a plan B. The films are very vague about how old the Black Widow is, only hinting she's old enough to have been raised by the KGB. In the comics, however, various medical procedures and bits of biotechnology have allowed her to live for decades. As the KGB becomes a more distant memory, it's more likely the young Natasha is much older than she looks. In the comics, she's said to be 70 years old, and we all want to look that good when we're 70. Marvel published the first issue of their adaptation of Star Wars in March 1977 with a July cover date, about 2 months before the movie was released in theaters. Marvel Comics founder Martin Goodman was meant to be aboard the Hindenburg on the day the ship famously crashed, but changed his travel plans at the last minute.
ChrisTopProgram.com, home to No Name the Dark Web Serial Killer, Rideshare Stories, and What the Fact.
What the fact?
Marvel Comics owned the rights to the word zombie from 1975 through 1996, when they realized it was impossible to enforce the trademark. In 1996, DC Marvel Comics crossover Quicksilver challenged The Flash, Wally West, to a race and lost. Did you spot this really cool Thor Ragnarok Easter egg? When it was revealed, Thor shouting, "He's a friend from work," made immense waves on social media. The idea came from a kid visiting the set as part of the Make-A-Wish Foundation, who suggested the line to Hemsworth during a break between takes. She-Hulk was created after Marvel learned of a plan to introduce a female Hulk in the popular Incredible Hulk TV series. They rushed the first issue of the Savage She-Hulk into production so they could hold the copyright and trademark. Sounds kinda shady to me. Loki's first appearance in the Marvel Universe predates that of his brother Thor's first appearance by 13 years. Marvel got around a law that increases taxes on toys that resemble humans by claiming that X-Men figures were mutants, not humans. Many of Marvel's notable superheroes and villains are of Irish descent, including Captain America, Beast, Iceman, an incarnation of Ant-Man, Daredevil, Bullseye, and Dum-Dum Dugan. One of the more famous things about the Incredible Hulk TV show and film series was that Bruce Banner, human identity of the Hulk, was called David Banner in the show. According to a Stan Lee interview, this was because a producer considered Bruce to have homosexual connotations, despite Stan's insistence to the contrary. When Stan Lee and Jack Kirby were creating villains for the Marvel comic books, they turned to the Bible. Out of that inspiration came Galactus and Silver Surfer. Marvel created a superhero named Throg. He's a frog that has the power of Thor and is in a group called the Pet Avengers. In the Marvel Universe, the cleanup from major battles is handled by Damage Control, a joint venture of Tony Stark and the Kingpin. They even had their own series in the late 80s.
What the Fact is a Chris Top program production.
What's a fact?
Hi, I'm Keelan, the good-looking one of Making Sense. Make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Thanks for listening to this Chris Top program production.